What's up then?
All right, we're live.
Yep, we're live.
Cool. Well, this is the league stage of the New Blood tournament of the classic board game Fury of Dracula Digital Edition. My name is Snuffleupagus. Uh, you may have seen me play in the past month, and that's about it. With me are veteran uh, Draculas and Dracula hunters, OC and Blazin slash Fangs of Fury. Why don't you all
Fangs,
say hello?
Fangs of Fire is like correction, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
I
I'm getting a little too excited for the Fury. Fangs of Fire.
well then, hello everyone. I it I was asked to take part as by coincidence. I was also starting to prepare my own OBS channel, so in the future I may be doing some as well. But for the time being, I have joined forces with Snuff to just partner up, newbies together and all.
Good stuff. Happy
As
to have you.
All right.
yeah,
And we got a couple interesting little board placements here. We got the classic pair with Mina and Godaming over at 38, which is a little bit more to the west than I typically see players like to put them. And then
yes,
we also have uh, Stewart over in 48 of all places, Saragossa, which is usually you see them kind of
yeah,
like put them a little bit more center, kind of to make it a little less
yeah,
incentivizing for Spain.
yes, and also the reason they do specifically Madrid for those who are new. I mean, for all I know, you usually don't know this yet. They do that so that when evil presence or local rumors gets popped down there, that covers everything in Spain, barring Barcelona. Uh, so that just as soon as an evil presence is popped, you or local rumors hits at Madrid, you know that Drac isn't down there. But the more serious implications is of Saragossa over Madrid over Saragossa is Madrid is a big city, whereas Seward will have to move before he can start picking up items. So that's already a bit nasty for the hunters. Okay, let me see. Yamina got a rifle and an excellent weather. Good stuff, actually. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
for the most part, that excellent letter is perfectly fine for Drek to know at the start. It's
I
really
mean,
not usually a thing that you concern yourself with until you get to the sea and consider going to sea.
yes, although it is often used by people early on simply to get Van Helsing to the mainland sooner, a little bit quicker. Although sometimes it can prove wiser or to save that for later, like to combo with a renewed vigor to like an Adriatic Sea passage, for instance. Like if you have to go chase him off into the east and then he sinks through Munich, you can take a shortcut by using an excellent weather from Valona to Venice. There are also a couple other spots, such as for instance, if he's in southern Spain, sometimes this is a bit more rare, but there's just the Mediterranean Sea spots. Like sometimes you'll see excellent weathers onto Cagliari to give chase, or
So,
even Marseille to Alicante.
so here's kind of like my layman dumb guy opinion about excellent weather. Ideally, you'd want to use it to chase Drac across the sea, but in practice, usually if Drac is going to sea, you don't immediately know which direction he's going in. Sometimes you do, right? But a lot of times he'll be going to sea from Spain or from Italy or France, and so it's going to take you a couple of turns to realize which way he's going. So,
Most of the time, yes, that is true.
Yeah.
so
Sometimes you do just have to take that kind of hint.
right, and it's possible that after you learn which way Dracula has gone, following him directly by sea the exact way he went is not necessarily the quickest way to get to wherever he's going. So I feel like in
There,
practice, it's kind of like I don't blame people who use it early just to make sure it gets some use, even though it optimally would be used later. That's kind of my
yes,
my
but here's the
immediate
thing:
sense.
but okay, good work moving Sewer to a big city sooner rather than later. Good work, TDG.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So admittedly that cost him 1 day action, but at least he's not just drawing events without items for a long time, as has happened in other games. So,
Yep. Yep.
in any event,
I
uh,
always get a
to,
little
to,
terrified if Stewart doesn't get horses too at the early
to
game because I typically put him far away from everybody else anyway.
yes, but in regards to the excellent weather, to continue what I was going to say there is the another reason not to use it, and especially since Mina has already shown it, is its very presence is something of a threat that makes that psychologically can make Drac wonder should I really try to should I really stop at CAG and lay down a threat there? Should I really, or if I have already done that, should I stay and feed? It can definitely simply the knowledge that it's there can sometimes influence Dracula's to help you a bit in their own way. So, and that can go for practically any event. So, of course, there are a couple real useless things that just make good smoke screens, such as blood transfusion and long night. Uh, but
All right.
but when it's a good one or even a halfway decent one, Drac does have to keep it in mind.
So we're on the third turn of the game here. Where do we think Dracula is right now? Like, based on what little we know of there, what's your best blind guess?
I'll let Snuff answer that first. I'm people in the chat. Do
Oh,
you?
I mean, it seems a good time to be in the Far East with Godalming and Mina in Germany and not in Vienna. But it's a pretty small difference, so yeah.
Yeah, I've had a similar board set up to this once, playing a practice game when I was learning. I believe I started in 55 and made my way kind of like hugging through the 50 to 10, and then I started just going north along the border, essentially.
Yeah.
So yes, but the thing is that that's a very common setup, and therefore, the moment a scouts is drawn, that will almost always get searched. So it's a little Strider. Since this is Strider playing, uh, since this is Strider, the veteran of this group of Group A, uh, playing as Dracula, he will definitely keep in mind that could easily be far too obvious. Uh,
Yeah,
and
I
so
honestly, based on
other
his previous
possibilities.
play styles that I played against him, I would not be surprised if he started like at 58 or 11 and instead is working his way downwards to like Athens and then he'll escape the sea.
This seems like a good time to just briefly talk about our players today. We have TDG playing as the Hunters, uh, and he's about midway through his games. Uh,
Oh,
and oh,
nope.
Yeah,
nothing there. So
the
I got to pause for
yeah,
that.
that was where they got ahead.
And Strider is trying to clinch a sweep of round one. He is, I want to say, 5-0, and this is his final game of this round. To have a little bit of a David and Goliath setup here between.
Yeah, as TDG sadly has yet to get a win, but he's working on it. I have seen him eking out practice games, so he's working on his
Right.
play.
He seemed
Yeah,
look.
I think the
He seemed good yesterday, even though he lost his game yesterday evening versus Donna Jack. Like, I don't know, me blaming dumb guy new person. He looked like he played pretty well. I couldn't identify anything that was, that seemed crazy to me.
mhm.
Had a tough heavenly host early, but otherwise I thought played pretty well.
I mean, I haven't had the time to watch. to watch many of these of Group A's games, but so I don't know all that much. But I agree that TDG is a solid player. I mean, when you faced him, OC, I mean, he gave you quite a run, and even though you scouted him day one, he still put up an excellent fight for that.
Yeah, I had a solid early game, and that definitely threw him off edge, and I just kind of kept hounding him no matter what, which forced him to be extremely low health at midway through the game, and that more or less kind of just spiraled from there. But here, one thing I want to point out is Van Helsing is actually doing pretty good for event cards early on. Man, I've had games where Van Helsing just gets all the items and none of the events, which is really something you don't want for Van Helsing to have happen to him.
True, that's actually kind of exactly what you want. You want him to have empty item slots so that he can take in events from other players, so that he can pass them on to someone else. Like for instance, like when Gul'dan or Seward draws a hypnosis or something like that, or some things along those lines. Uh,
I always,
y-
I
y-
always just figured it was good just to have him have events just to trade off to people that people can use anyway to save it
yeah,
on actions. Because
it, yes, it's true, but at the same time, it's not actively bad that he doesn't and the others, because his task is to get them to the others so he can use them. But what if they're already there?
Let's you see. Only have 3 items and 3 events in the discard here. I might take a look at them when the screen permits. See where we're at.
I took a peek, and it was nothing all that remarkable yet. Just your standard pistol, or Holy Bullets Garlic Wreath, if I recall correctly.
Okay, nothing crazy. Getting rid of the stuff that's worth
I mean,
getting rid of.
feel free to double check by all means. But
yeah, right now you know that he's digging deep for those event cards that can hopefully start pointing him in a direction to search for Dracula at this point, because there's a lot of spaces he could be at this point. Um, and that rumor token is looking
hmm, he
Interesting.
telegraphed this clearly, eh?
First surprise of the game, huh? Early speedy telegraph. Maybe
I'm not sure I like that much since he doesn't know a thing about the trail yet.
think it's an early
If he
hypnosis.
I mean,
yeah,
okay, if there is hypnosis, then yes, that actually is something that might actually be a decent call.
Let's see. Looking forward to checking out what how TDG uses this card.
Okay, having Seward go first.
Sewer
Okay,
supplies.
just a supply.
yeah.
Hmm.
I mean, that actually makes a certain amount of sense considering the fact that Seward missed out on one item due to his time on 48. So, therefore, he wants the weakest person to supply first. And therefore, like, if he needs it, or at least feels the need to set out by drawing a newspaper, uh, he wants to make sure that the person who's lesser equipped gets an item draw.
So it looks like Van Helsing is supplying as well. So we got pretty standard early game actions, just in a little bit of different order so far. Let's see how
Yeah,
the rest of this day goes.
yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
Okay. A Holy Circle in the discard now. So it's actually Pistol, Dogs, Garlic Wreath, and Holy Circle so far. Okay. I mean, again, none of
I
them
mean,
are particularly
yeah,
enticing.
yeah,
Uh,
nothing that really screams like pay attention to this, like a steak or
Steak, Knife, Heavenly Host, those are the three things in particular that I. Oh, moving to Zurich? Hmm.
Maybe trying to scan Italy.
I
Interesting.
yeah.
could see. I could
This is
see
a
that.
common ploy. Uh, let's see, because if it is turns out to be Italy, then that obviously Nope,
Not in Italy. All
All
right.
right. So that gives him some reassurance, but now he has left the East even more vulnerable than it was before.
Yeah, if Drac is in the East right now, he's probably sitting pretty right now.
Yeah. Basically, the way I play the game, I mean, since both of you and likely some of those watching are also in the tournament, here's a little hint as to how I'll play. My rule is just supply, until something happens that to give you at least a clue. Even if it means just letting the first vampire mature, I mean, okay, sometimes that will happen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems to be the general consensus, but it
It
can
still
fall
feels
tough.
pretty
Yeah,
bad.
but I do
Yeah.
think
Like you
that
hate to do it, you really hate to do it.
I feel like certain aspects of this game can feel a little bit like playing blackjack and hitting on a 16 against the dealer. I don't know if either of you guys do much blackjack, but it's one of those things that it is technically the correct move, right? You can calculate the odds of your success, but it doesn't feel good when you're doing it, you know?
At that point, you're kind of fooling yourself a little bit, right?
Yeah. It's all too easy to become impatient with the hunters, and that especially when it comes to using major events like Renewed Vigor. Even I haven't mastered the skill of being fully patient with those myself.
You have the advantage of being patient at the start of the game. Is I think the big lesson here, because once you do start getting close to week 4, that's when time is up. You need to do something.
Looks
Yeah.
like we have some messages in the chat here.
Just
Strider's thinking.
Strider. Yeah.
Makes sense. It is
Seeing as he's taking a while
a cerebral
to make
game.
his move. Yeah. Strider656. I mean, he took part in the spring regionals tournament last year. That was also my first tournament. He was, he and I were the bottom two. He was the only one I was able to beat consistently. Since he was even newer than I was at the time. But but since then, of course, there doubtless you've seen his Furious Fridays and such. He's gotten a lot of experience since then. So
Mm-hmm.
he is now definitely much more of a force to be reckoned with than he was back then.
Yeah.
So honestly, I will be surprised if it doesn't eventually come down to me having to face off against him. At some point or another. But then again, I might get eliminated by someone else. Who knows? But we'll we'll see.
So getting some fine comments in the chat that I'm sounding a little bit robotic. Not great.
Having a Discord call.
I have absolutely no idea how to fix that. So all of the wizened technological gurus in the chat, if you have any tips, hit me up. Otherwise, I'm gonna just do my best here. Let's see here. Hold up.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a filter option you have turned on or something. Doubt it. But...
So it's possible that it's my laptop picking up the sound instead of my headset, and I think the headset will be better if I can figure out how to get
that
it
might be
correct.
that.
Problem was that his headset
I think I've had
mic
experience with
was.
that in the past. I didn't know you were on a laptop. I figured you were just,
Well, yes, and at the same time, when earlier today, his headset mic just simply went. Oh,
we got
simply
newspapers.
wasn't.
It
Oh,
was in Gallons.
hide at Galax. Okay.
22. It's.
And the thing is, had he just stuck around and supplied, and had sewer in a big city to start with, he would have done that yesterday.
Yeah,
So,
this
now you
is
see
a
the point.
very similar play to what Strider did to me in my Hunter game versus him, where he he seems to really enjoy picking a really far off location, placing a rumor token, hiding, and just making this so it punishes the hunters for taking their time. Really, really. If he has a any sort of vampire on there and another vampire on there or something like that, this could be really bad.
Yeah, you could
It
have
can be
two
tough,
different
yes.
adverse events, and it's about as far as you could reasonably get from the hunters right now. That's how many spaces away.
That
Okay, so
is
it'd be 3
5.
moves if you have fast horses. They might need an event to get there.
Yeah,
Sharded carriage can help, but
in order to
that's
get there in
like
time, Goldaming or Mina would have to have a horse to get them onto Vienna, followed by a chartered carriage to get them to Galatz.
I really think at this point he's probably moved his way down to 10, and then he's currently at 50, and then I think he's either gonna
Either that or
move
Black
to
Sea Coast.
he could be going to the Black Sea Coast, but I wonder if he's as much of a creature of habit as I think he is, where he likes going to Athens to escape the sea.
Yes, but the thing is, does he want to do that immediately? Because had we not gotten that newspaper, that would it's possible that would have broadcasted where he would that he was on going to sea before the thing matured. So that's why it's advised it's advisable to try to make a little bit of a loopy at some point early if you're in a rather small area.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
I mean, if you go south from Galatz, you have the advantage of likely being further away from the hunters, and being further away from the hunters is generally helpful. Makes it harder for them to damage you. They need to damage you to win the game. That being said, on the other hand, if you go west, at least initially, you could plop down some events that the hunters will have to deal with on their way to your vampire if they try to kill that vampire in Galatz. So there could be some advantage to that. Or you might try to just use this time to slip by them. You know, I don't know. There's a lot of different
Yeah,
like plausible ways to do this.
with how far away they are, I would almost guarantee myself kind of like, okay, Galatz is gonna mature. I'm not gonna bother trying to lay down any like things in the way. I just want to keep my distance. Use that to my advantage.
in hmm, there are several variables to consider. First of all, consider that it doesn't take long for them to be able to get into position to block the corridor. So therefore, he could easily get caught in a 2v1 if he tried to slip through there. So,
Mm-hmm. I
uh,
think that's what's
but
might happen though is that he'll try and just block this air his block the passageway to the west, force Dracula into a corner, and then yeah.
interesting comment, Strider.
We shall see. Uh, so anyone in the comments, if you have thoughts on whether Drac will go west or south from Glatz, I'd love to hear them. And if you have any comments about whether any of us are too soft or too loud, definitely want to know that too. Um, Happy to have everyone on watching this very, very important game here in round one of the New Blood tournament.
All right. So yeah, I think the only way he can get there in time is chartered carriage.
That or a sense of emergency, seeing as it's only 3 roads.
Yep. Or
And
renewed vigor.
even
Could be an early renewed
Or
vigor.
an
yes,
early renewed vigor, yeah.
yes,
So
but
he needs
honestly,
and he needs like a steak or something.
yes, but here's the thing: since the high card is down and Galatz will already be on the last spot, Imagine if that's a saboteur or a fog or something like that. You won't be able to stop it even if you get there. So therefore, at this point, I would consider just letting it go and
Yeah.
simply making preparations for for what happens next.
Yeah, clears the board off of any other further dangerous things. The question is, I think Drax started at 10, went to 22, hid there, and then went back to 10.
Yeah, of course, misdirecting to do so.
Well, it looks
Yeah.
like Mina seems to be following.
I'm hmm.
Overall, how many do you think you send Mina and Godalming further east and have Helsing and Seward come kind of down towards like Switzerland, Italy, kind of block off any sea route? Or do you think you said maybe more than just two east? How do you think the hunter players might want to balance the overall location of
Hmm.
the hunters at this point in the game?
Well, if they have the sense of emergency char carriers to reach Galatz, then I think they should at least try. 7 points is not something to give up lightly. But if it fails, then don't send any more than two east, while the other two form something of a coast guard. Uh, because two ought to be enough. Uh, I mean, it's possible that since he has not been supplying as much as would usually happen, uh, like between more seasoned players, uh, it's possible that he doesn't have the right equipment. I mean, there's still 21 items in the draw pile. Wolf form. Hmm. I see. Okay,
Wolf
Yeah.
so
form.
if I had to guess, seeing what he's done, let me see. Give me a mo to think on this.
Do you think maybe he went to 11 and he wolfed to 44?
That's actually the thought that just crossed my mind. It's not something we can rule out. That's for sure. Uh, so basically, here's what I would do. If you can reach Galatz without using a renewed vigor, uh, then do so. Then
You
at least try to, because uh, but if you can't, then just leave it be, because that's gonna wipe off so much of the trail that there's only gonna be you where he will form from and where he is now left.
so one other thought.
Especially if. Go ahead.
One other thought. Not saying it's the most likely option, but it's possible that Dracula did go west. Maybe he jumped over Mina.
Yeah, he could have gone to 57 or 37. That's where I would go, is towards the boot, honestly.
If you
If
had
I was
taken
at
a more
59.
aggressive tack, knowing that at the time he was moving, Drac and Mina were a little bit further west, maybe you do take the risk and
Unfortunately,
set up
that's not
some
possible.
protective. It's not. So you go from Galatz
No.
to Klausenberg to what is it, 53, 53 Zagreb, and then jump over Munich.
Okay. It would take that, or it would take Klausenberg instead of Bucharest, but
Yeah,
but
Klausenberg. Yep,
yeah.
possible.
Okay, so
Not
no,
at
no
44.
Prague.
Okay.
Okay,
Not
I
at
think
44.
I'm not
So
sure.
he is fully committing to Galvat. Just dude, whatever's going to happen there, it's going to happen there.
Yeah, which I think is a wise move, since no point in wasting moves going in that direction I mean, unless when it's gonna happen no matter what you do at this point.
Yeah, one of the adages I've heard is to try to like check the spaces that would be the worst case scenarios first. And certainly Mina and Godalming going east only to find that Drac had jumped over them, whether to Prague or Venice or wherever, that would be pretty darn bad. So
Yeah.
definitely a sensible check um, on TGG's part. And by moving Godalming there, it's pretty clear that he has um, what's the word?
Oh,
Accepted
choosing to
the
go to the North Sea. Hmm.
I'm not sure about that one for two reasons. Firstly, you already have plenty of people covering Northern Germany. What you need is more people covering the way west down to Spain right now.
Okay, I don't think he could have gone. Well, could he gone to 51 from there?
there is still Nuremberg,
No.
Could be.
and there's also Zurich for
Although,
reforming over them. But honestly, I don't think that's what's going on. I think he's simply doing that to maneuver around his trail, so that he can continue looping around. I mean, that's what I would be doing. After all, because once the things get wiped, you can go back there without them knowing, without them being layers and all.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, so let's see. Let's see what type of vampire it was. I mean, if I had to guess, I'm going to say aristocratic.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, knowing him, it was probably the first vampire that was in his hand. Not specific.
I can guess that's almost always the case, but let's see. Well, whatever it is. Okay,
reckless
reckless.
vampire. All right.
7 points down already. But but not to be discouraged. Now there's far less trail to deal with than if he had
Right.
managed to get there and stake it.
Honestly, if I was him, I would have instead. I would have him and get Mina to meet up with Godaming and just psychic check to see if he's even in this area.
Well, there's definitely merit in the idea, but I think what he is really missing, he is missing more doing enough supplying with the others, like people who he doesn't need to send east. They should be supplying, getting events like planned ambushes, escape routes, or just scouts. Oh, by the way, that's a horse, Uncle Dommy, we just saw.
Yep. Rough ticket draw, but good that Godalming has a
Yeah,
horse. We like that.
yeah. Moving Seward.
But yeah, I definitely agree that this might be a good time for a strategic scan of Germany or Austria-Hungary. Certainly Austria-Hungary. Um,
Hmm. You know, come to think of it, hmm. I
Yeah.
might have actually in that position since he moved Vienna to Venice anyway. What if he had used the excellent weather to go down to Valona?
that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, and now that he's moved up to Munich, obviously there's no real point in doing that now. That would be kind of a waste of time at this point. But, mm, but well, yeah, because then you would more likely than not find something of what's left of this trail down there. But I think that the TDG's his primary uh what I one might call it a mistake. Another way of putting it is like misplay. I mean, not a strictly a mistake, but at the same time, he would be better off just continuing to supply. Uh, since now he's basically back to square one from where he was before. Uh, he got the advanced hint that the vampire is going to mature at Galatz. Apart from that, he knows nothing.
So, he knows there was a vampire in Galatz, so he can reasonably deduce that some of this trail is southeast of him, even if he doesn't know the exact city. I,
Yes,
I mean,
but are you going to send all four of them to go look at for those spots?
maybe not all
Answer
four, but I think you might just send someone sniffing around to try to find something
yeah,
on the trail so you can start clearing it, which looks like that
yeah,
might be what he's about to do here. Let's see.
uh, yes, yes. However, Snuff, it is noteworthy that what you said there. send someone, emphasis on the second part of the word. Oh, well, there is some evidence, so it pays off.
First move was to Klausenberg.
But in the meantime, but here's the thing. But here's what the thing I was not exactly happy about, and and that's uh, and that's that he was not doing a and that's those people that are not that someone to go sniffing about should be trying to find scouts which could be to search so more effectively. And okay, but to get to this new information, that means that in order for that to be the case, it had to be the three cards that got wiped were High Card, Bucharest, and Belgrade. That's the only way he could have got. That could be the first thing that didn't get wiped.
Which would explain the wolf form to jump over Belgrade.
Jump over Belgrade, yes.
Yeah. Is that's what? Szeged. Oh, I'm sorry, no. Sorry,
Number
yes, you're right.
6,
Belgrade.
yes.
Yep, Belgrade. I was getting confused on the rail versus road there. Interesting. So,
Yeah. So in that case, I would guess that the destination of the wolf form is Sophia, and that
Yeah.
he's now going to be going down to doing the classic down to Athens thing.
I think that's right. It would mean because he would not have needed to Wolfram if he wanted to go any other direction.
Well, yes and no. I he wouldn't have needed to wolf form immediately, but later. But if say if that wolf form was one turn later, that could have meant 11, and then jumping over. Admittedly, he did check almost everything that could have possibly happened there, although not everything.
So, if our theory is correct, we probably have a kind of a cautious early approach from Dracula, which makes sense, all things considered. He'll be in a position to be relatively safe for the next few days as the hunters clear the trail, and if ever it's needed, Dracula can take to sea and evade being teamed up on. Makes a lot of sense if that's
Yes.
his theory.
See, that's this move right here is something I definitely would not do. I would send Mina along with Helsing down to the boot in that general area because there could only be so many ways that Dracula does not go to sea, and there's so many more where he's likely to go to sea.
Okay, let's see. Does he have a weapon? The way he's hesitating makes me think that he has several weapons, actually.
He has a rifle.
Okay. But the fact that he actually hesitated for a bit seems to indicate that he has more than one.
Could be.
But yes, but in any event, OC, I definitely agree that that he has committed a bit too far into the east, and that he should be forming something of a coast guard in preparation for that
Well,
like
he
almost
is
inevitable.
trading with Stewart, so maybe there was something that was worth coming just to do this trade. And then
Yeah.
maybe it goes down, which could be
Yeah.
fun. You have a couple turns to kind of like send your Coast Guard of Helsing and Mina down.
Do a
So
trade, do a quick scan, and then Mina from that point can one of them can start going southeast to put some pressure on Drac to make him leave, and the other can prep to be Coast Guard.
yeah,
I presume Seward will be the one to go southeast, but I think splitting them one on one would make less sense.
hmm
I actually I disagree. Uh, at least in the sense of sending Seward and not Mina, and here's why. It, think about what event Mina is revealing.
the excellent weather. You thinking just having her go down so that she could just excellent weather, just to quickly travel across the ocean?
Yes, because if you were to track him as far as Valona, then she could just go right to being a Coast Guard in one move.
Yeah.
So, therefore, since she has that particular tool, I think she would be better off. That he would be better off doing that. And yes, it's more dangerous for Mina, but you also have the tank there to give her support.
Yeah, I'm not.
Not convinced?
Well, I mean, it kind of depends what other cards he has, right? Because
Yeah.
if Drac
This is just
goes, if Drac
this
were to
is
go
just on
two
what I
spaces,
know.
right?
Yeah.
Kind of same drawback I was talking about earlier, right? Being able to follow Dracula if you know where he's going, you know, with excellent weather is great. It saves you a turn of following him. But if you don't know where he's going, maybe you can't really use it effectively. I don't know.
Okay, so not in 10. Not likely he's going towards the Black Sea. But yeah, he's going south. He's going to Athens.
Yeah, the Wolfram location will be Sophia. I am almost certain on that. The only other option that makes like I mean there are two other there are for that matter three other options. I no, since they did a scan last night, didn't they? Uh
Yeah, they did scan, and Drac
that
was
does,
not there.
that means that it can't have been Zagreb that he Wolfram to, as he would have still been in Austria-Hungary last night if well, I suppose not necessarily. And he would have only just have left. Yeah.
He's an
I
Athens. If
okay.
he doesn't go to sea at the end of this turn, I'll be surprised.
I think that he might stay one more day, depending on exactly where he is. Like
Right, because he can
he
hide
might
again, right?
yeah, he can
So
hide again. Like hide, lay down fog to protect. Like perhaps that's precisely where that rumor token is. There's a there's a fog ready to protect the vampire and secure the win. Uh, yeah, I think that TDG has unfortunately already overly committed to the East, to this Eastern play. Uh, let's simply say that what if I s- let's simply say that uh this is just it just confuses me being used to seeing more advanced players in action, seeing like what it makes me want confused as to what on earth he's doing.
uh,
I mean, that's what this tournament is all about.
yeah.
So,
So it's possible. Yeah, if he went Black Sea Coast, then he'll be going to see this turn. Which, since he didn't, assuming that I'm right about Sophia, that is, he can go Wolf location. But
Yeah.
unless it ends up being Constanta, that's the Wolf location, then he's going to find he's
ooh, all right,
ooh,
we're
now
doing
that could
bigger.
be interesting.
I
That
wonder
That
definitely
if
could
could
be
be.
interesting. That
Would you
definitely
just
could.
skip? Would you skip a Sophia? Maybe go to 46? Because honestly, the rumor
Uh,
tokens are what you worry about.
well, first of all, that he's not guaranteed that it is Sophia. It could be Constanta into Varna, where the rumor token would be hiding, and then Sophia would be where he just was
you might be able
before he.
to.
Ooh, one horse.
Oh no,
He has to go to
that makes
Sophia
this a
now.
lot tougher. Because with the two horse, you might be able to get multiple hunters on Dracula right now.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Oh,
it appears that he did go Constanta. Uh, yeah, it appears that he went Constanta, Varna hid, Sophia. Okay, so mob. That'll. I mean, I'm not sure whether he'll discard anything, but I personally wouldn't when you're so close. Uh, I'm guessing that it. Oh,
Forewarn the
okay.
mob.
That
Interesting.
that's best save for something bigger. I mean, Goldong's the tank. He can take damage. I mean,
Yeah, I agree with that. And he might just move to Dracula's actual location right now, where there could
Yes.
Sad because
plausibly be
how
a
much I
fog.
was looking for forewarned to get freaking past the mist.
Yeah, the fog.
Yeah.
Fog primarily, but also there are plenty of. I mean, fog is like, barring rats, mob is the least threatening of the things. In truth,
Especially when it's just its
so
regular effect, not its mature effect. Obviously, the mature effect wouldn't matter in this situation, but I mean, I feel like that's the only time mob can actually be kind of interesting when you can hit multiple hunters with it.
yes, so yeah, that definitely should not have been forewarned.
Like, I think
There are plenty of better targets.
so.
Wolves, spy, fog,
So
bodyguards.
um, you think the rumor tokens is on Varna right now, huh?
Yes, far enough, or 56 for those who can't read the names.
Gotta be. So where's Drac right now? Is he in Valona or
That would
Salonica?
be that. My guess would be Valona getting ready to do an Adriatic Sea passage, since they've committed so far into the east, and the only Goldaming has shown a horse so far.
Mm-hmm.
So
He
therefore,
either is. Hmm.
Speaking
he
of,
can
do you think
safely
the
assume.
we've seen two one horse draws from Godalming so far? Do we think that's just that's intentional because the other hunters don't have horses, so they TGG would want to keep like a good ticket on them, or do you think it's just either just bad luck with the ticket selection, trying to get the horse economy set up?
I
He's got
think
his horse economy set up. I just don't think he's got all his horses,
Yeah.
and
I
he's been shuffling
I think it's kind of a
cards
mix
in
of
and out
both,
of the deck.
actually. I think it's kind of a mix of both. Because you just saw Van Helsing use a 3-2. I think he's been trying to get rid of the two yellows so that the horses will be guaranteed to give him two every single time, but he simply hasn't managed to do so yet. Okay, that check of Sarajevo confirms that it was Constanta with the wolf form. So, and therefore, why would he put a rumor token on the hide card? So therefore, the hide card is what's after that.
I will say that was
So
kind of a underwhelming renewed vigor.
Yeah.
We did reveal the trail, but in a way that could have been done without the renewed vigor.
yes, which is why I was a bit skeptical when I saw it. I was hoping to see sense of emergencies, charred carriages. I was definitely hoping to see more of that sort of stuff when he used it.
Well, he's kind of running out of event cards that would have been able to do those things. He spent a bunch of event cards, but he hasn't really like resupplied.
Yeah, and that goes back to my point earlier of how he's just been moving far too much. He needs to. Those events are what win the hunters game. Okay, so that's not surprising.
Nope. The
And,
question is do we think he went to Athens or not? Because if he went to
well,
Athens, he's an
here's
Ionian.
You mean Salonica?
well he can't. Well,
From
here's the thing.
Sofia, he had to go to
He's
Valona or Salonica.
Yeah. He didn't have enough time to go to Athens. But
Right. So yeah, he's an Adriatic Sea.
Salonica for Ionian or Valona for Adriatic. I
Yeah.
my guess.
Well, I
Honestly,
guess we'll know because if he went to well, if he
hmm.
goes I think
What?
if he's only at sea for one space, it makes it highly unlikely that it's Salonica. So that'll tell us something. If he
Well,
spends
that
more
tells
time
us.
at sea,
Well, that tells us it was Valona, so that's Adriatic. But honestly, I think that was a mistake to go there for the reason that you gotta get to Varna.
Yeah,
If
you're
that
gonna
if
lose the
that
game.
if that thing slides off, it's game over.
I think TCG is just literally confused about where this pathing is because we figured it out. but I don't think he has, and he's like, well, crap.
Yeah. Sadly, I think that TDG is just outmatched in this particular one. But I mean, he'll learn with time.
Yeah, there's Malone. Yeah, he realizes. I'm pretty sure at this point he realizes 17 and 56 has to be the only other places.
Yeah, the
So
problem is,
if this matured card is anything other than a vampire, then the game continues on.
well, if this one is a vampire, that's actually good for the hunters because it wipes the rumored one.
Yeah.
That's
So
true. A non-rumored vampire does not kill TDG.
Yeah, true. Good point.
yeah, what Drac would want to be there is what Drac would want to be there is a hoax.
A hope and
Hoax would be the number
obscuring
one
this
pick.
would be good as well, because then the poor
Not particularly, not right after a wolf form. Nah, I don't think that the wolf that what's about to mature is a mist or a
Yeah.
fog. It
or fog. Yeah, the idea is that it would hit the same port town as well with the fog as well. That's what I thought.
yes, but fog is typically used as a kind of last line of defense sort of thing. Uh, most of the time. So while I could definitely see that being the case under the high card at Varna, which would mean, well, it's already too late. Uh, sad but true. Uh, and the rest. I mean, as for, or I think that's good candidates. I maintain that my guess is that it's a hoax. He would already have had plenty of time to draw one, and putting it all the way over there, I unless they figure it out. Oh, he actually went to
It's
the
Ionian.
Ionian. Interesting.
I think at this point he realizes I'm winning. I have a lot of health. The C's are only doing 1 damage to me.
Oh, lair. Interesting. Okay, so that implies that it was something very trivial, like a rats or something like that.
Yeah. In that case, don't go to 17. Just whatever you do not go to 17. Just leave 17 alone.
I agree with
Yeah.
that. And just for your knowledge, Ozzy and Fangs, Met King has said in the chat that it is if it covers the Rover, hoax into Unearthly would be GG.
Very, very true. Good point, Macking.
And Long Night is in play.
Unfortunately, that won't really help him. Long Night is, at least in my mind, the worst event in the game. Even Blood Transfusion is slightly better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes Blood Transfusion just sits in your head like a dead card, and Long Night is, in my opinion, a dead card.
So
Yeah,
let's just hope that he
and
can reach Varna.
for
I
for people like me who are new about this, I think the reason Long Night in this situation is not that helpful is that if
okay,
you
good.
move at night, you won't be able to search to fight the vampire at 56 if you land on it at night.
All right, we got finally some tickets that will get him to 56. Yep, and
Yep.
there it is, Varna. Hidden Varna. Yeah, he really
Question.
does
Well,
love.
Wow,
and
unnatural fog.
since he forewarned the mob, he didn't have the forewarned this time. So that was in this is so that has now turned out to be a deadly mistake. Uh, as it just turned out that way. Sometimes I'm saying that health, like if you're right next to, like if that's the thing guarding Dracula, like he's just you're like, and it's a matter of forewarning it or dying. then yes, obviously. But unless that's the case, just tank it and heal at night.
So,
So
is there
that's
another?
already so if that's a vampire, it's already GG.
Yep. And considering this has definitely been Strider's signature play of of placing a rumor token on a vampire and then hiding there and setting a trap on top of it, seems to be like one of his go-to strategies for playing Dracula.
I see. So the fog was on hide, and the hide doesn't matter for the purposes of like triggering, and it prevents the fight with what is presumed to be a vampire in Varna under the Varna card, which will mature and yeah, which will mature and
Yeah.
can't be
You
searched
cannot
for with
search
the
in
fog.
fog.
And if he had
Yeah.
only had gotten here like 2 turns earlier, he would have at least been able to wait out the fog and then deal with it. But too little,
Yes.
too late.
It's an interesting trick. I haven't encountered that yet in playing. It's clever. We presume that's the vampire, and that's how this game's gonna end. But we'll see shortly.
Yeah. At this point, yeah, I don't think this is anything. I don't think this is bait. I think 100% this is a vampire. This game is over.
If he left an un, an unnatural fog to protect it, then yes, this is going to be. Sadly, TDG is just gonna suffer yet another loss, and Strider is going to get the sweep that he desired.
Hmm.
All right. 2 more actions here. Drek's turn comes up, and we will find out.
He's using a
Yeah.
long night
So I'd say, I
there.
mean, could have been maybe a last minute vampire lair, but
Well, the
time's up
problem
for
is that
that.
yeah, unfortunately, no. That even that wouldn't have been enough, uh, considering that you had to play Vampire Lair during the day, and
You know what? He's probably going to land at Athens.
GG is called by
honest.
Strider. There it
Yep,
is.
there it is. That's game.
All right.
Yep,
Well,
it's always Athens.
figuratively, but yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So there you have it.
Well, that was a quick one.
Yeah, that was a quick one.
Wasn't
We saw no combat. We saw just yeah.
not gonna lie, it wasn't the most thrilling first game to stream, but it was a uh, clean win for the top dog around one. So there you go.
Yeah. Hopefully this will be an important lesson for TCD, just because that East was just left so vulnerable for so long. It was
Yeah, and and think of this: had he kept that forewarned from that mob, he at least would have stood a chance of preventing that vampire.
yeah.
Because he had the forewarned he needed to at last minute stop it, but he spent it on something else.
That would
Well,
have definitely have helped him.
Yeah, and that would have, well,
I mean,
that would have made
it
it
would have
last
still been
longer.
an uphill battle for him no matter what. But yeah,
Yeah, true.
uh, Matt King's got another comment. I'm gonna let this last one slide, but I like the interest. Any final words before we wrap this up?
Not really. It was short, simple. But I think the primary lessons we learned here are make sure to supply more often in the early game. to get the events fuel the hunters, and don't use and save forewarned for when you really need it. That's a that's a far more emergency like event.
I'm disappointed in this Dracula player personally. I saw no blood. I saw no fangs. What the hell?
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that. Anticlimactic it is. Well,
Worst Dracula player ever. 0 out of 10.
well, thank you, Ozzy and Fangs, for joining me for this stream. Looking forward to seeing you guys in the tournament moving forward. I have been Snuffleupagus. Audience, you
I've
have
been
been you.
I've been Fangs of Fire,
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks
and
all, and good night.